Hello everyone, this is Tom and Ilya.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Live at Synthbooth 2020.
Synthbooth. Hello.
Don't worry, we are going to stop and explain what's going on.
Or will we? So this is just a quick intro jam with the MOTOR Synth. We've got the plasma pedal together with a drum machine, and like the drum machine's doing this, right? And we've got the upcoming light pedal release right here. So that's the source of reverb for this jam right here. But yeah, how is it going, folks? Are you enjoying the Synthbooth at home in the safety and comfort of your home? So we are here live at the Red House Studios. It's around 10 p.m. here in Riga, Latvia, and this is a garage in the middle of nowhere, and basically this is where the Gamechanger audio started about 4 years ago.
And that is where we still jam.
This is our studio. So Tom, how are you doing?
Doing good, you?
Excellent. So we've got, how many people do we have watching, Tom?
At the moment, 22.
Okay. Hey everybody.
Okay, the rules of the live stream are, we are just going to show what we want to show on the MOTOR Synth. We're going to do a big, long jam at the end. But throughout the whole live stream, please ask questions, because we don't have like a strict schedule of what we want to go through. And we really appreciate questions, because then we can really deep dive into the topics about the MOTOR Synth that you are actually interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's not a lot of us, sort of. There's less than, there's only about 20-25 people, so hopefully we'll get more. So the ones who are watching, please feel free to ask any questions you like. And also we'll gladly answer questions about our other products. And yeah, it doesn't have to be only about MOTOR Synth. We can talk about Gamechanger, we can talk about our plans, and yeah, pretty much anything.
Yeah, sure, just drop your questions in the chat.
So yeah, but do we have any MOTOR Synth pre-order backers here in the chat today?
Let's wait for the answers.
So for those of you who don't know, the MOTOR Synth is a concept that we brought to attention in 2018 at the NAMM show, or maybe it was the 19th NAMM show.
I think it was.
So I think it's like
2019.
Yeah. So it's almost 2 years ago we launched the first concept and showed it to people, and we've been working on it in total for over 2.5 years now. So we have a pretty lively team here in Riga at Gamechanger. We have somewhere around 20 people working, and at least half of that team is engineers. So we have been focusing a lot of energy into building this really strange, quirky, and magical instrument here. And the instrument was mostly funded by a successful crowdfunding campaign, which took place about 1.5 years ago.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and the people who backed the campaign are still waiting for the synth. Most of them are, and we're happy to say that it's really approaching the shipping time. So it's starting. It's everything is coming together really well, and we did have some setbacks. Of course, we didn't get our timing right, but yeah, the synthesizer is really literally weeks away from being shipped to almost all of the backers. So this is a really good time to, if you are still on the fence about this is a really good time to ask any questions you want about the instrument. We're happy to do a full, complete explanation of what the thing is, what it can do, and yeah.
So we have the first question about the actual release date when it comes out. I guess the question is about when it's going to be available in dealer stores or wherever from our webpage, or just available for purchase.
So our goal is to first of all ship all of the synths to the people who back the campaign, and we are going to be like we are already like as we speak. The synths are being built, modified, packaged, fine-tuned, and everything like that. So most of the backers will receive their synth during November or maybe in the first weeks upcoming before Christmas. But yeah, as soon as we ship out like these synths, we're gonna launch a campaign and encourage people to order their synth from our website, which is GameChangerAudio.com. So the synths are gonna be in stores probably 2021, but it's not gonna be, you know, any. It's not gonna be in many stores. It's gonna be in select with select dealers. You know, people who really know, because this is a really strange instrument. It's not for everybody. It's you know, it's somewhere it's somewhere in between a work of art, like artistic kind of piece, and a musical instrument. So we don't intend to be selling them like across the whole range of our dealers like at the beginning, because we want to kind of get a feel of what kind of people gravitate towards this instrument.
Also, it's not, you know, it's not a synth that you want to get if you want to recreate the classic synth sounds.
Yeah.
It's really the synth that you want to get for exploring new sounds.
Yeah, this
right?
is a completely new, 100% like analog, weird, original kind of beast. So this is not. Yeah, this is not going to be like anyone's first synthesizer probably, or who knows, we shall see. But yeah,
I know that a few of our fans who are guitar players actually are going to be, this is going to be the first synthesizer.
I hope so. Kind of in a way, it was the first synth for us.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I learned synthesizers on. Yeah, pretty much.
So we started out building guitar pedals, and we didn't know that much about synth. And we really wanted to build a guitar pedal with electromotors, and that's how we got started with this. And in the end, after like the big interesting chain of events led to the project growing, expanding. At one point we almost released like a 32 motor full-sized 7-octave piano type instrument, but we had to kind of like put that on the back burner for at least the next coming years, and
But it still might come out sometime.
Still might come
in
out
the future.
Yeah, well, but yeah. So, if you're interested about just trying to come back to the original question, is like, if you are really interested in getting your hands on one of the MOTOR Synth, I would say that in the close future, unless you live in a really like big major city with a big strong scene, I would say in the foreseeable future your best bet would be to simply order directly from us. You can either go and check out our store starting from December, I would say, or you can already email us at info@gamechangeraudio.com, and yeah, we can start a discussion and talk about like reserving your MOTOR Synth, and we'll keep you up, like we'll give you all the precise information case by case.
It's cool. Okay, let's maybe just continue with just exploring what the MOTOR Synth is and how it works. And
yeah, so hopefully there are some people here who don't really know what this instrument is. So these sounds that you're hearing right now, that's the that's the sound produced by the motor oscillators, without any filters or pretty much without any like extra stuff or extra effects. Tom, could you turn down the reverb stuff? Yeah, okay. So we do have like a little like sidechain compression thing going for the voices, so that's maybe why the sound might be cutting out sometimes. But this is the sound, the raw sound of the oscillators. So I'm just playing 2 notes right now. Now I'm gonna add some reverb just because why not? Let's change the envelopes a little bit. So, well, hopefully what you're getting here is that this is a this instrument is very much so alive. So it's an electromechanical synth that uses electromotors as the main source of sound. So for example, like now, I hope my microphone is picking this up. You can even hear the motors kind of oscillating on their own. And here, I'm gonna adjust the scale knob for voice 1. Right? So what's happening here is the rotation speed of the motors corresponds to musical notes. And the whole point of the instrument was to develop a technological solution that allows us to control the speed of these motors with extreme precision. That means not only getting them to to rotate at a certain speed stably. That also implies that we need to find a way how to get them to jump to the right frequency and stay there really quickly. So simply from a technological standpoint, I don't know how many of you guys watching here are engineers or technically inclined.
We have at least
people.
one.
We have engineers in the house. That's good.
Yep.
So like simply to achieve this, which is so low note here, and now so that's me flicking the scale knob. So that in itself was one of the huge technological challenges in designing this instrument. But so the reason why we chose to even try an instrument like this is simply because, well, the nature of the product that we build at Gamechanger Audio is that I mean, we believe that there isn't like it's not true. We don't subscribe to the idea that everything is already like there. Everything has already been created, and that everything under the sun is some kind of rehash of of a system that's already been in place. So we are still trying to kind of create new instruments and new ways how to inspire musicians using unorthodox materials. So the sounds of motors, simply in an emotional sense, the sounds like like you can be thinking about car engines or about electromotors, or you might like, how many times have you heard an industrial motorized kind of sound and tried to recreate that sound with a modular synth setup or something like that? So that's exactly the idea that we had behind behind this concept, and like, so these wonderful acceleration sounds are also cool. And they're completely analog as can be. Right? So you can, if you add the reverb stuff to that. If you add some filter to that. And also another thing that I like about this system, like in a fundamental way, is that how the notes clash against each other when they are slightly detuned. Because like, I'm pretty sure that everyone here who has experience with analog synth knows that like the way that an analog synth detunes with itself is like not really. You can't really capture that probably like it's not the same as the digital emulation or something. So here that detuning effect between motors is as cool as the acceleration stuff. And that's why we built the MOTOR Synth with these like with this interesting interface here, which allows you to detune pretty much every note as you go. Like you don't need to stick to a set sort of scale, or the scales are there to serve as a jumping off point for ideas, but pretty much every note is individually detunable.
Maybe you can show some lower frequency notes. There was a question about that.
Sure.
About bass tones.
So that's the bass oscillator right now, without filters. So maybe let's do like an ARP thing for the bass.
Let's do lower, I guess, scale.
And if we put that through a filter, we really hope that you guys are hearing this loud and clear over the live stream situation. How's the quality? Like, hopefully this is fine.
There was a question also about the physical noise, because you already touched the topic. The question was if this already has the silent mod on this synth.
Yeah, this is one of the synths that's been completely fully modded.
Yeah,
so
you can hear it in our vocal mics a little bit, but you can also, I guess, hear my chair squeaking. You know, it's the vocal mics are very, very sensitive at this moment, so you can hear it, but it's not really too loud or too annoying. So I can easily speak over the synth. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. I hope you guys like noise, because this comes with noise, noise included. So this is I've just added in the top like high oscillator as well. So in terms of bass, there really is a lot of bass in this instrument because it's like electromotors actually offer a very nice and stable way of producing a lot of low frequency because it's easier, it's more natural for a motor to spin it requires less energy for a motor to spin at a slower rate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone said that they actually like the noise that's coming out of it, the motor synth. And actually, I remember my first experience when I plugged the motor synth in. It reminded me a little bit of very loud guitar amps because both of us come from guitar territory, and you can't really play a 100-watt Marshall heads in your bedroom. And this a little bit feels the same way because it makes the acoustic noise. After the silent mode, it actually is playable in a bedroom, but still it makes noise, so it actually feels very tactile and it feels a little bit dangerous, like an very loud amp.
I don't know, like for me personally, like we were definitely aware of the noise from the very beginning, but yeah, I think my personal noise tolerance level is really high somehow.
Yeah.
But I definitely like this, like even with the noise mod and everything, like this is not, I don't want to scare people away, like, or something like that, but this certainly is a strange instrument. It has its quirks. But yeah. So we've had quite a lot of people. It has been a divisive issue. Some people say that they love the noise. Some people say that it makes it more challenging to play the instrument in like a home studio setting. So
yeah, if your wife is sleeping next to you,
what we worked really, really hard on for the last, I would say, 2 months, is achieving a compromise where the noise is still there and you can use it for musical purposes. You could mic it or record it or something like that, and it perfectly corresponds to what you're playing. But it's not out. It's not. I think we've managed to take it down to a level where it's not outrageous. So you will still know that that you're playing a live weird machine, but it's not going to be probably a deal breaker for anybody. So I would say, like, I don't know, I would compare this to, I don't know, a fan, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
As you can hear, you can hear the motor synth in the background, but our voices have no trouble of just being louder than the motor synth, and it's not like we're shouting here. Cole is asking a question. When is the firmware for Sequencer coming out?
Okay, so we've been sidetracked a little bit by this whole noise issue. Like, the plan was to focus on building the sequencer firmware straight away, but as soon as we shipped them out, we recalibrated our focus towards like solving the noise issue, and we have been working on the new firmware with the sequencer. So it's coming out. We really apologize that it's taking so long.
But approximately when it could be? Just the ballpark date.
Internally, we have set the goal for ourselves that like we want to get it done and dusted like maximum like end of October, first week of November.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But maybe you can talk more about what are going to be main features of the sequencer.
So yeah, what we want to do, we don't expect this to. We don't want to position this as like a groove box. You're not going to be able to use it, to make full songs or something, like, or maybe you can, I don't know, but like this is not aiming to be a groove box, but like we do want to give you the options of creating like live automated drone loops or jams or something like that, or little melodies. So it will have note record style, kind of almost looping style sequencing, and then once you've recorded your sequence, you can then take certain steps in or out. Or if you want to, there's also going to be the option to go in and program a sequence, which is like fully straightforward. You pick a step, choose a note height, next step, and also lock in certain like filter or whatever parameters, and then press play, and that sequence is going to start playing.
But already you can do a lot of similar stuff with the arpeggiator and the motion record.
Yeah.
So if you combine those two, you already can get into that territory, and the sequencer is going to just push that.
Yeah.
You know,
So
just
currently
10 times.
currently it features a motion record thing where by holding rec you can start automating different parameters. So that's kind of the approach, the simplicity oriented approach that we want to give the sequencer. So at any time, like you can take those, for example, if I go out of the arpeggiation mode, so if you want to do like these like detuned kind of things, right? It would, in an ideal world, like what we want to do is just let you simply press record and just do these like detune motions, and it's gonna save them, and like you can tweak the characteristics of that loop. So how quickly it cycles through the loop, the direction of the loop, and then you can pause it, start a different one, and so on. So it's still a work in progress, but I think it's going to suit this instrument pretty well. It's also going to be very compatible with your existing sequencer skills. So kind of internally, like we personally prefer like more simpler style sequencers.
Oh yeah, cool. Actually, the automation recording is a lot of fun, and I think the current limit is like 3 layers of automation, right? That might change.
So
right?
we've decided that we are going to offer 3 layers of motion record,
Okay.
and that applies to the cross modulation, cutoff frequency, like pretty much any knob that's here on the front panel.
Oh, let's maybe just show an example because it actually works.
We're gonna show it later in the jam.
Okay.
But
Cool.
yeah. So, but pretty much like any parameter here can be recorded, and we've chosen to offer 3 slots simply because it's like nice and visible.
Okay.
But it's not set in stone. We actually the memory kind of situation allows us to put put more slots in if we feel that there's a kind of
Yeah, I know what you're saying. We also don't want to overcomplicate because
Yeah.
we ourselves get frustrated with instruments that just you just can't get hold of it when you have to scroll through
yeah. So currently we have three
menus to
memory
just
slots,
do a
but
simple
if
thing.
theoretically we could add more. If somebody like we shall see. So
Yeah.
one thing about this, like it started out as a like a project, a community project in a way because of the crowdfunding. So by no means this is a finished instrument. It's still in its evolving stages. And I think together by sending it off first to the first backers and only then gradually introducing it to the stores in 2021, we're sure that we're going to build the perfect kind of interface.
Yeah, we already
together.
gathered feedback from the first bunch of people who got the MOTOR Synth, and we already are extracting the best feedback, the most constructive feedback, and improving the firmware.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay, Cole, you're actually really good at asking questions, so we're waiting for more questions from you and anyone else who wants to ask any specific detail about the MOTOR Synth. But maybe let's show the arpeggiator because it's kind of similar to a sequencer.
Yeah, sure.
In the sense of what you can get out of the MOTOR Synth, and I think it's a lot of fun. At least personally for me, I usually just go to the arpeggiator.
So for the ARP, what we wanted to do is, first of all, we have individual control over the voices. So you don't just need to enter ARP mode. You can set voice 1 or voice 2 into ARP mode individually. So now if we put voice 1 into ARP, so I'm gonna take the second voice out of the mix for now. So now it's just doing a standard ARP thing. And here in this menu here, you can make things quite complicated. So first of all, we have this kind of menu, which I really hope you can see clearly. So this one, the first thing up there is called mode. Mode is the kind of arpeggiator style. So up, down, with or without the repeat, order, and random. Let me put in more notes. And obviously this all can be controlled with a MIDI keyboard as well, so you don't need to be stuck to the 8-note interface that we have here. So a cool thing that I like about the ARP is how it can be used for generative music. So basically, what I can do is I can set it up that each note repeats. Let's say 2 times. And now I can set it up that every time the note repeats, it jumps at a certain interval. Let's say a 5th down. Let me get rid of the filter here. Right, and now I can take the whole pattern and make that repeat as well, and now take it up an octave. Now let's increase the time division, so it's going to be 16th now. Add some release to the notes. So that's just like 4 notes, and you can see how crazy the ARP is going on the screen. So I wouldn't say it's a completely finished arpeggiator interface right now, but what we want to do is to make sure that like it really doesn't get boring. So this kind of concept of note repeat and note shift for each of the new repeats, that's something that we think is cool. And then this pattern repeat and pattern shift is also pretty awesome. Let's take it down 1 octave. That's just one voice. And if I set the other voice into arpeggiation mode as well, but not put it into like a nice bassy territory. Now I'm gonna use this. Let's try and explore some cross modulation and modulation stuff on top of this. That's amplitude modulation, so in other words, maybe ring mod or something like that. In this case, it sounds really a lot like distortion. Now, for the modulation stuff. So the modulation section, to do that, I'm gonna put the ARP into like a slower subdivision. So let's start with the filter. can hear, the rate of the modulation is now being synced to the tempo of the arp. So I can now do different subdivisions for the filter, for example. So this is step mode, which is pretty cool. So it's kind of like so you can set up different styles of filter of the modulation behavior. So there's different types of shapes and forms, and different types of kind of patterns. And you can even adjust how many steps you want in that pattern. So let's do like a lot of steps. And let's do much faster modulation. So now, another thing I can do is I can unsync this, like modulation stuff, modulation rate from the BPM. Now it can just be free, which is always cool. And I can use the rate knob to just increase the. But I can still do subdivisions. So that way I can have like the filter modulated at one subdivision, different from like let's try to modulate the pitch for voice 1. Like it jump upwards. And we can do the kind of amplitude modulation for voice 2, which is going to be probably like these choppy things like. So I'm going to set it to square wave. So that's only the voice 2 and the bass there. Let's try and tweak that a little bit.
Hey, what do you say if we attack a few of the questions in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, there was a question about ordering a MOTOR Synth. Actually, we are currently working on shipping out the last backorder synths, and then the next task in our task list is to start manufacturing them for general public.
Yeah.
And if you want to be notified when MOTOR Synths actually become available for you to order, you can just reach out to us in any way, Instagram, Facebook, or info@gamechangeraudio.com.
Yeah.
And we'll just start a discussion with you.
If you want the absolute best treatment.
Yeah.
Then info@gamechangeraudio.com, and Nick will be
Nick
happy
is a
to-
really cool guy.
Yeah, Nick will be happy to take in your reservation. So, like, that's what we've been kind of doing for all this time, since the instrument's kind of been announced publicly, and we're not yet manufacturing it. So we've just been taking reservations through email.
Yep.
For almost like 6 months now, but yeah.
Yeah. The next
one person at a time. So.
Yeah, the next question is about the the whole schematic of the motor synth, how it produces sounds. I mean, in terms of how many oscillators, VCAs, envelopes, filters. Maybe you can just do a quick tour.
Yeah,
Of the
okay.
schematic. Don't do a deep dive. Just the main things.
So super simple. So I'm gonna use one latched note, right, to demonstrate this, and just the filter. Okay.
So in terms of oscillators.
Okay. Let's get rid of the filter then.
Yep.
So the synth has 8 motors, which makes it has 8 motors, 2 voices, and it has a shared filter section. So each voice has its own VCA and envelope section though. So that kind of makes the synthesizer a 4-note polyphonic synth with 2 voices per each musical key as the maximum. You can make the synth, you can turn the synth into a mono synth if you like. So you can press this button.
Or in duophonic synth.
Yeah, you can select. You can also take the synth and turn it into an 8-voice polyphonic instrument. So by turning by adjusting these polyphony settings here. So now, for example, voice 2 has been put out of the mix, and what I'm getting is like all 8 of these motors are now dedicated to voice 1. So that's why I can play the whole,
Whole major scale.
Whole
or
scale.
Whatever scale.
At the same time.
So that means that you can hook up your MIDI keyboard and play almost everything, as long as you're not using all 10 fingers at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
8 fingers at a time only.
So that's one element about this. Also, you can put it into Unison Mode, right? Where each note that you put in will be played with both voices, and each time it's going to be assigned to 4 individual motors, and that produces like a cool, very powerful kind of sound. Because there's always going to be naturally occurring kind of differences, it is at the end of the day it's a fully analog kind of like motorized system, so they do chorus a little bit.
So you have 8 oscillators, which can work, which can output up to 8 musical notes, and then in terms of amp envelopes, you have 2 amp envelopes for each voice, each kind of sound voice. And then what else do you have? You have 1 filter for both voices, but you can choose which voice or either of the voices go through the filter, and then it has its own envelope, right?
Yeah. So like the filter is 4. So it's an analog chip with 4 types of filters. So it's 12 and 24 dB low pass, 6 per octave. It's a band band pass, and 12 dB high pass filter. So it does have its own built distortion, overdrive thing, resonance, filter envelope send amount that goes between positive and negative values, and we have an envelope, one knob envelope for the filters, and you can choose which one of your which voice goes into the filter. So now it should go like. Right, there's 2 types of there's 2 interesting types of key track there. So in one key track mode, the filter cutoff frequency follows the value of the input note, and in the other mode, the key track follows the final destination that it will have to reach with the filter envelope. So that's. I'm gonna try and come up with an example that shows that later on. but that's really cool for use with the high pass filter.
And then there's modulation section.
There's the modulation section where you get there's a shared LFO that can be applied to either voice 1, voice 2, or the filter, and you can change what sort of parameter on each one of them gets modulated. So in terms of the voices, you can modulate either the pitch, or you can modulate the amplitude, the volume.
And just to clarify, it's the same LFO, but you can actually change the polarity of the wave, and
Yeah,
for
you
each
can-
output, you can completely change the shape
Exactly.
of the LFO.
And also you can do individual subdivisions of that one LFO for
Yeah.
each one of the things getting modulated.
For each output, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
E-
and then we
every
got
thingy.
and the filter, cutoff frequency or resonance. So that's now we're modulating the frequency of the cutoff. Right, and then you can also do resonance jumps.
And also the envelope section has its own, the modulation section has its own envelope.
Yeah, so there's a parameter. Currently, like we don't have a full envelope for this, but it's not because it's like hard to do or something. It's just we thought that like a more simplified envelope for the modulation is better. So now it has 3 parameters. One is called delay, which is maybe like kind of based on the MS-20 stuff. So where you can you need to hold down a note for a certain amount of time before the modulation starts to go. And that's pretty flexible. You can adjust that to be quite a bit. Right? That's pretty cool. And then probably forgetting something, but there's also randomness stuff as well. So random modulation shapes and random pitch jumps and that kind of stuff.
Cool.
And the cross mod is interesting as well. The cross mod is achieved by multiplying either the amplitude, like the volume, or the frequency of voice 1 to that of voice 2. And because these are motors, and because it's a very unusual system, the results are quite interesting. So here I'm gonna just quickly scroll through the ring, which kind of goes. Now when you detune them, it changes. Right, and now the frequency modulation. This is not going to be something that sounds like, like when you see frequency modulation, that FM symbol, that's probably not going to be the same type of like the motor oscillators here have kind of reached their, like they are very, very nice and quick and stable and snappy and totally enough to make music with, but we can't modulate the frequency of those motors with such incredible speeds. So
Like usual analog sequence.
like
Oscillators, yeah.
yeah, like usual, like FM synth or something, we can't make them like jump around so quickly. So we can't do the modulation. We can't bring the frequency modulation kind of into that crazy audio range. But what it does, it still acts kind of more of a as a very cool and very unique chorus and detune effect. So.
Well, it actually is frequency modulation. It just doesn't go as far as your usual FM synths.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it cannot go into the audio, like fully into the audio range, because you need to physically change the speed of the wheels. Actually, at this point, maybe this is a good time to once again remind people how the sound is produced.
And actually, maybe if you can tie it in together with an answer of how we came up with the idea, because there was a question like
Okay.
where the idea originated from.
Well, certainly we are fishing for crazy ideas, which is why we built this guy, the more like
plasma
the
pedal.
plasma pedal. So we're certainly fishing for crazy ideas, and that's kind of the point of Gamechanger Audio. Like our biggest frustration, like with all the gear companies, with the pedals, with the pedal market, and sometimes even like now, the more I learn about the synth stuff, there's so much rehashed crap. There's so much repeated ideas.
Strong words.
So many new models of the same guitars and that kind of stuff. So we want to get as far away as possible from that kind of approach, and we want to make stuff that's like crazy, stupid, challenging, and weird. So that's why we are certainly like guilty of intentionally trying to make our lives more difficult. And we wanted to find a way how to make distortion out of the electrical stuff, and like we wanted to make music with motors, and
So
that was an idea.
But where the idea came from, yeah.
The idea, like motors. First of all, okay, like a lot of industrial music features industrial sampled sounds, and that's a whole like discussion on itself. So, not like you can even say that in a way Tom Waits like is an industrial, dude, because he doesn't use a drum set but bangs a hammer on a radiator or something.
Yeah.
So like that kind of approach is certainly there, and so like that kind of approach has been proven to be a viable thing in music. So and then there's the obvious examples. There's like big stuff from like Plix, I think Bargeld from Nick Cave's band, who did dildo solos on guitar, like where. And drill solos where he puts the electromotors coils next to the guitar pickups, and they start self-oscillating and producing crazy feedbacky weird stuff. So yeah, we knew that it's a valid approach to use electromotors in music. We just needed to find a way how to do this. And when we started putting this idea on paper and trying to see what are the possible like bottlenecks or like weaknesses or challenges, we realized that a lot of the technology has been pushed forward greatly thanks to the flying drone industry.
Yep.
So because of the flying drone dudes, like with the cameras and stuff, because of those guys, these types of brushless DC electromotors are quite like readily available. They're super stable. They're good. They will last a lifetime. They are not. They don't really heat up or show signs of wear. So the motors have been pushed to a point where they're really usable. And we wanted to see if we can prove that they can be usable even in the musical sense. So that's where the work kind of started. And so it's a combination between those two things. Like first of all, definitely wanting to try and find something unique and cool and weird, and secondly, we assessed the situation, like what can we use, what are the parts, and we realized that it's doable. Well, little did we know there was a lot of stuff that we had to redo ourselves. We ended up at first the plan was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna use the same like motor drivers that are used in the drones. We just put it all together and make an interface, and it's gonna be a cool project. But in the end, we ended up redesigning pretty much everything, and including like pissing off a whole bunch of electromotor companies and that kind of stuff. And we ended up designing our own motor driver system specifically for this instrument for musical purposes,
And power
which
management,
is
right?
more precise and more responsive than probably like any racing drone out there in the world. And we might actually try and prove that at some point.
Yeah.
So that I don't know. I mean, I am rambling, but we're really glad that you're asking these questions because hopefully you're getting something out of this. So please ask away if you want to learn something more
Yeah.
about specific details.
There was a question about the motor pedal. So what is that? What is motor pedal?
Yeah, so the motor pedal was put on pause at some point. But the motor pedal was not supposed to be like it was not designed in this way. Kind of like the motor pedal used a different what was originally conceived with a different motor in mind. So we wanted to use a brushed DC motor, which is something that's more commonly found in household appliances. So like your mixer, your blender, your whatever, your power drill, those guys use a standard brush DC electromotor. So we wanted to do a pedal, but we quickly realized that those brush DC motors, even though they sound really cool, they have a more aggressive, like more guitar distortion type of sound. We realized that they're really hard to work with. They're not as fast, responsive, and durable. So that idea, I wouldn't say that we tossed the idea, but we certainly moved away from it and focused on this because we saw that this like CV MIDI type control over brushless electromotors with all the synth stuff such as envelopes and filters and everything like that could make for a more decent musical instrument. So in one of the upcoming firmware updates, you will be able to filter your guitar. Like you will be able to use the motor synth as like an external signal processor, sort of kind of like the MS-20. So kind of send it through the filter and a little bit through the motors, but in a sort of pseudo vocoder type of way. But yeah, more on that when we have actual sound examples.
Since you touched the topic of inputs and outputs, there was actually a question, I don't know, a longer time ago about inputs and outputs. So maybe you can just run through what is available on the back panel.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we've got the MIDI in and out. Hope you can see that. Or maybe let's switch to the other camera.
No, I think it was good.
Yeah, okay. We've got the MIDI in and out. All right. A little bit out of focus there. So the out can also serve as the through. Here we've got 3 assignable CV inputs, and we have 3 assignable triggers. So that should help you integrate the motor synth into your Eurorack system without problem. And the MIDI and the CV stuff is pretty simple to assign to a lot. Like we're pretty happy with what we achieved here. So for example, here I've got the menu here on the MIDI section, and by default, so so by default, for example, the pitch wheel for any MIDI controller is set up to control the pitch bend, right? As in almost any other instrument, but you can manually adjust the range of that pitch bend, so it can be from 2 semitones up and 2 semitones down, which is the standard. You can change it up to an octave up or down, and also you can kind of hook up the pitch wheel to any other parameter on the synth simultaneously. So just press this button here and touch one knob, and now it's also going to control the cutoff frequency along with the pitch bend. So, and then you can also set up the range and the responsiveness of that cutoff frequency, kind of like sweep with the pitch wheel. Same goes for the mod wheel. By default, it's set up to control the filter cutoff, but you can change that. So you can assign the mod wheel to any parameter on the synth, even like the main volume or something like that. So the same kind of system, matrix system, goes for the CV and trigger assignable inputs. So there are certain things that are assigned by default. So for example, CV1 and CV2. For example, CV2 is assigned to the amp, but you can turn it on or off. But you can also use CV1, select CV1, second parameter, press the encoder, and touch, let's say, the tone knob. So now that's saved, and now CV1 is going to modify the tone knob on the first voice, and so on. And the same goes for triggers.
So it only has like 3 CV inputs and 3 trigger inputs, but you can do a lot with them.
So because each CV and each trigger can be routed to 3 different destinations on the synth.
Yeah.
And with a varying multiplier kind of.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Then it can be the clock source. It can take another clock source, and then which is what we're doing now. We're controlling it with drum machine. What else? Yeah, this is really cool. This is I'm really hoping that you can see the screen there. So this is the Diagnostics mode, where you can actually see live information about the motors. So for example, each one of the motors is constantly like being monitored. So right now I can take a look at, let's say, motor number 3. Right, and what it tells me is that in total it has achieved 9.5 million revolutions. So that's over a total running time of 31 hours and 42 minutes. The current temperature of the motor is 41 degrees Celsius, and it even shows me the up-to-date precise power consumption and power load for that motor. So now it's operating at standby at 10%. If I pick pretty much like a high note or something, so now I can see that it's drawing something around 0.5 amps of current, and it's operating at 74% of its potential. And we can see the speed of the motor. Currently it's at 16,000 revolutions per minute. So I think that that's just an interesting kind of little thing to add. Hopefully you'll find that amusing, but it's cool to see that some motors have achieved like 8, 9, 10. On some synths we have over 50 million revolutions per each motor. And like, I know that one of the things that people are definitely concerned about is like, at what point in time will this thing explode, right? So that's a completely natural thing to be worried about, but
so is it going to explode?
We feel that like it should not explode even after decades of use. So like if something will go wrong with the synth, it's probably not going to be the electromotor. It's going to be other electronic components, like even the capacitors probably have a better chance of dying on you than the motors. And the reason for that is because the brushless DC motors operate in almost without friction if they're not being required to pull anything or to carry any load or something like that. So,
cool.
So the motors basically are not touching anything and they're freely spinning in the magnetic field. So sorry for being like a little bit nerdy, but yeah. That's kind of an important.
Synths are nerdy, so what can you do?
Synth is a nerdy territory.
Yeah. We have a question from Diego. He's asking about the availability of MOTOR Synth. He's asking if he can get it for Christmas. I don't know.
Yeah, you can definitely get it for Christmas,
For
but probably not this Christmas. Like, yeah. I mean,
So I'm not getting MOTOR Synth for Christmas? But you
no, okay,
promised!
no. Okay, so yeah, we're making them as fast as we can. We have about 500 people standing in line, so, and we are doing everything we can to make sure that those people get theirs before Christmas. So I would say,
And it's only fair because
Yeah.
they're the first ones who order it, so...
yeah. So I would say that we will have new units available early 2021. But in order to expedite like this process, like if you want to be one of the first people who get the next synths after we are done with all the backers and all the pre-order guys, so yeah, please write us a message to info@gamechangeraudio.com, and then we'll put you on the, take your reservation and take you like
And just
tell
take care that you receive the next available MOTOR Synth as
Yeah,
as soon as
as soon as
possible.
possible.
It's not like we don't really want to, go longer than we need to.
Yeah. And actually, we don't build like we don't hand solder these things. Like they are being manufactured by pick and place machines in a rather serious kind of rather serious facility. So, for example, like some synths take pride in some. There's a lot of stuff that's being like very like hand built and hand wired and hand soldered. Like even the like Soma Labs stuff is very much like hand built. So the MOTOR Synth is the furthest away from that. Like it's incredibly precisely manufactured, and there's only like human supervision. Like let's say, like yeah, and maybe screwing on the motors and assembly. That kind of stuff is hand built, but pretty much everything else is done. We do it in the most like highest possible industrial kind of standard.
Cool. Okay, my favorite question from the chat so far: how is Jack White?
How is he?
Yeah. What is he? Well, like, what's his personality? Did you get a chance to meet him?
What is Jack White like?
Oh,
What-
what's
yeah,
his
thank
like?
you.
What's his like? He was very polite and very scary person. No. No, I mean like he's a polite guy. Yeah. He cared a lot about both the visual aesthetic of the pedal as much as the sound, and he was really kind to let us see multiple shows on the tour. I think you and me, we got to see a gig in Berlin.
Yeah, and it was just like last
It was
minute.
just last minute,
decision,
like, oh shit, we're in Berlin. He's playing.
what to do.
Yeah. So the whole crew is actually really cool. But yeah, he definitely is a busy guy. So it's not like we're best buddies, you know? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. He's a busy guy.
It was a pretty
Pretty-
quick and fast meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the backstory for those who don't know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
those who don't
what's
know,
up with
like
Jack White,
this guy here, the plasma pedal. The plasma pedal is a unique type of distortion that we invented. So it converts audio signal into a high voltage electrical discharge. By the way, not one of those things has exploded in over like 2.5 years.
So far, none of our products have exploded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did this pedal in 2018. It was a massive success, and it still is a really like awesome pedal that's being sold everywhere. So you should definitely check it out if you haven't tried it yet. It's fantastic with synthesizers and drum machines as well as guitars. Bass too.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we did this pedal, and it's caught the attention of Jack White, and we always kind of thought that it would make sense for him to be attracted to this like electrical stuff, you know. So we always thought that it's a fit, and yeah, him and his people reached out to us and asked us if we would be willing to make a signature version of this pedal for Third Man Records, which is Jack White's record label, which we were more than happy to do. It's like possibly one of the proudest achievements that, you know, it's probably one of the highest achievements you can do in terms of like signature artists, you know, to get Jack White on board. So really happy about that. And yeah, here's our little GCA pedal board. And the green guy, the yellow guy here, that's the Jack White's artist version for the plasma pedal. So, yeah. Yeah, anyone here have a plasma pedal? Let us know.
Yeah, there was a guy who said that he already has. I think he said that he already tried to patch the motor synth through a plasma pedal, and
Okay.
it's gives very satisfying results.
Cool.
I think I'm remembering this right. I'm not sure. If I'm not, please correct me.
So, yeah, what do you think, Tom? Should we try and make some music?
Let's do a jam. If anyone still wants to, some insights or in-depth explanation about the motor synth, this is about the last chance to ask it. Otherwise, we are going into unnecessarily long jam session.
Yeah, unnecessarily long and yeah.
Okay. Let's take Christian's question. He wants just us to wander away from motor synth for a little bit and tell a little bit more about light pedal.
Okay, yeah. So the light pedal, this is this guy here. So what we could do is we could try and rearrange some stuff on the table there.
Let's do that.
So, okay, do you see it now? Is it in the frame?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So, for everyone who's watching, please remember this is a prototype that you're looking at.
Well, it's actually it's not that much of a prototype anymore. It's coming more and more closer to being a finished thing. So we are literally days away from starting to manufacture the remaining PCBs, but pretty much everything else, like the enclosures and all the stuff that most of the parts are already in place, and we're just waiting. We're fine-tuning the final nuances and waiting for that to be done, and pretty much those are going into manufacturing very, very soon. But the light pedal, what it is a spring reverb system. A really good spring reverb system, actually, like on its own. So the base, the foundation of the pedal is this little spring tank with 3 springs, right? So let's use a drum beat maybe as the... Okay, so it has a let's turn off this channel, I guess. Okay, technical difficulties, whatever. So we're using the drum machine here, just as an example of the sound. So here's the spring tank alone. So it has a separate volume knob for the dry signal, for the spring, the regular output, and it has a really interesting and very wide tone control. Okay, here's the drive, which lets you dial in how hard do you want to drive the spring. So it effectively serves as both sound intensity, decay length, and volume of that overall spring.
Yeah, all in one knob.
All in one knob.
Yeah.
So when it's, for example, when it's turned all the way down, there's no reverb sounds. And now it's really, really responsive to impulses. Tone. Okay, so that's all cool. But what makes this light pedal so unique is that in addition to using the standard spring tank's output, we've added 4 pairs of optical infrared light sensors that shine through the springs as the spring vibrates. And what we kind of discovered by experimenting with these light sensors is that you can recover very, very interesting, nuanced reverb sounds, not just from the springs, the spring tank standard like transducer, but by scanning the movement of the springs themselves. So now I'm gonna turn off the spring tank like standard kind of sound, which is this one. Right, this sound. Let me take that off. Now let's try and listen to the optical signal. So here in this mode, I get to calibrate which sensor I want to use. So this is sensor number 1, which is located closer to the beginning of the spring.
And this is where you get into more interesting reverb textures. You can feel the like grittiness of the spring reverb. Yeah.
So now I can blend that. So okay, like let's now move, for example, move to the next sensor. Next one. And next one. And now they're all on at the same time. Going back to number 3.
So you get these subtle changes in the frequency response and the kind of grittiness or graininess of the reverb.
And that works really well with the tone as well. So for example, each one of those sweet spots that you hit, you can tweak with the tone knob. And also you can add in the standard spring tank like output to that as well. Okay, so now another thing we can do is we can enter sweep mode. So in sweep mode, the optical sensors, the stuff that I was just showing you, like how you can calibrate them manually, they just start sweeping automatically at a certain tempo.
And you can set the tempo with the control knob. So you get this kind of modulation kind of effect, but it's actually not modulating anything within the sound. It's just modulating the optical sensor that you're listening to.
Yeah,
like
so it just scans through the sensor, so you can take a listen to this. Just quickly.
And because every sensor has a different frequency response, you perceive it as like a modulation effect.
Yeah, and it also works really well like with the tone. And you can increase the rate.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite setting of this pedal.
So I personally like this one. The next one is Tremolo. So now I'm just, it's basically just turning the sensors on and off.
And you can always go back to calibration mode
Yeah.
and choose which sensor you want to listen to, even if you're in the tremolo mode.
Exactly. So for example, if I want to listen to just the first one, go to calibration mode.
Oh yeah,
this
this
one.
is crazy. Yeah.
Okay, back to trem. And now add the spring tank. So there's another mode called reflect. So this is designed to produce really, really long reverb sounds out of an analog system. So basically we're just feeding a
Delayed.
delayed
reverb.
signal into the spring tanks.
This is I think this setting works best with more like pad sounds, like synth pads or guitar volume swells. Not so much with drum machines.
Yeah, let's get rid of the drum machine. What else?
Yep. Yeah, there was a question on another platform.
Okay.
A person is following us and writing in parallel. Yeah, the question was, he said that this is a very interesting spring reverb system, and if we have any plans for scaling the product and releasing like bigger units for studio use.
Well, we did do a rack version for the Plasma, but that does not necessarily mean that we like automatically want to like just do like sign up for a light pedal, like
Light rack.
light rack or whatever.
Yeah.
But the idea of using longer springs is exciting. I like that idea a lot. So we do actually have an interesting kind of system in mind, which would be really really exciting to see in rack format. But since we are still like not, we still haven't started even shipping these guys. It's a bit too early to talk about that or to promise anything to anybody. But we definitely do have a very cool concept in mind, like about how we imagine this as a rack unit.
Yeah. So this idea has been on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But like no promises at this point. And we yeah, as you said, we want to do a good job with the pedal, and let's see where this takes us in the future.
I like the idea of using super long springs, more sensors, and a few extra special things. that
Yeah,
we
there are
haven't-
more things that you can do with the
Yeah.
spring. Yeah, that we
Actually,
haven't.
probably we like if we would do a light pedal, like a light like optical spring reverb in a rack, we might also consider doing a stereo unit with actual two separate spring tanks.
Yeah, and the same person asked the question like, what is the like? Are there any feedback issues with the pedal if you're using it in a studio environment or in loud environment? So how does it react
Yeah,
to sounds
so
around it?
For those of it is a spring reverb, but we have spent a lot of time making sure that it's really really quiet compared to other spring like analog spring reverb systems. So many like spring tanks like go into self oscillation. So we've done a lot of work to solve that. So we're very careful about how much signal we are putting into the spring tanks. All of the mechanics inside, all of the construction elements are designed to reduce any sort of vibration of the tank itself. And I would say that you could play right next to a huge as fuck big Marshall stack and just crank it up and like experience a lot of reverb but no oscillation and feedback.
Self oscillation.
Self oscillation and feedback. But yeah, if you were on a wooden stage that's super shaky or whatever and like the conditions are ridiculous, like it will go into self oscillation if everything is cranked up. So
Yeah, you can send it into self
that's what-
oscillation without the extra external noise.
Yeah, there's a special mode for that here. It's called feedback mode. So right.
So you can
But
do that as well.
You can do that, and that's why like it's cool. For example, I can put the pedal into like momentary mode, which means like it's not on off. It's just like
It's a latching, not
so-
latching, but momentary switch.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like this. So I can just play something, whatever. Oh shit! I turned it off from that mode. Sorry. Okay, so now should work. So latching mode is off. Right.
That's why.
That's
That's why I said it's a prototype in case something doesn't work.
No, it's not probably. It's probably just me doing something wrong. I'm sorry. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff here. In terms of physical shock, so if you've owned a spring reverb pedal before, you know that it will do this. Right?
Which is
Right? So it does produce some kind of stuff if it's being dropped or something. But it's actually not that crazy. And there's a switch on the back panel that lets you adjust the amount of shock absorption. So what we did is we installed a little microchip that's traditionally used, like, so it's a little thingy that's that your smartphone uses to know like if the phone's being moved. So it's like a G-force kind of sensor. So we've installed
G-force-o-meter.
yeah, some kind of accelerometer thing that's used to detect physical impact. So with the accelerometer set, like with the shock absorbing accelerometer thing set up to full blast, like you can have an effect where you can physically drop the pedal, it will sense the shock and just shut out all the wet signal for that particular moment when it's like when the impact is there. Also, there's a gate system which I cannot demonstrate yet, but basically when this knob is at 0, the gate is
The envelope is completely open.
yeah, the envelope is open. Here we get gated reverb, and here we get ducking reverb, which means that like it gets out of the way. It's like a pre-delay, kind of like adaptive pre-delay. So as long as you're playing something, it like waits for you to stop playing, and then only like rises later.
So you can play these self-oscillating sounds and just go into very like chaotic territory. But once you stop playing your guitar or whatever whatever instrument, it just shuts it off.
Yeah. I would say that this this pedal definitely shines with guitars. So it is a guitar pedal, even though it's huge. Like it's still not like it's still like
Manageable size.
it's manageable size, and it's built mainly for guitars in mind. However, we have compared this to many other spring reverbs, like in the synthesizer or drum machine context, and I think like it's actually quite amazing
It holds up
compared
to,
compared to
to other
certain
stuff.
tabletop tabletop units.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, what do you think? Maybe let's make some music.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting any more questions. And if there are more questions, our friend Matisse will answer them in the chat room. And let's just do a jam.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, thanks for watching. Let
It's
us know.
been,
Let us know what else is cool about Synthbooth.
Yeah.
And yeah, we hope to see all of you guys in person someday soon, hopefully.
Hopefully in the next Synthbooth.
Yeah. And spread the word. Also, please like check out our YouTube channel and subscribe, because we work really hard to make cool videos.
More cool videos are coming.
More
in
cool
future.
videos are coming soon, because we are gonna be like finally releasing more video materials on the MOTOR Synth.
Yeah.
And the light pedal, and then we have something else really cool planned for January. So hopefully, more cool stuff to come. But yeah, let's play.
Okay. See you guys.